I played more Elphelt. In Strive. Wow, she is like really fun. She is very fun, and really straightforward. I don't remember exactly how much of her I had played the last time that I talked about her. I think I'd had like 1 or 2 sessions maybe with the character. But yeah, I took her online, and she is a real blast to play. Very stupid character, and very easy, like really easy to understand and pick up and start doing like basic stuff with. But God, it is really fun and intuitive feeling. That's how I would describe her. Like a lot of things that you want to make work on her. The way things combo together, the way you can catch people with certain moves while they're in the juggle state. Like it feels really good, and it's to the level where you can kind of like half mash. You can get very intentional, with it, I think she has a good like skill floor to ceiling, because you can get very intentional with it and do some really crazy big long corner to corner combos that do a ton of damage and wall break and all this shit. And to an extent, you can also kind of just mash and get, not quite as much reward, but a decent level of reward for just mashing. And that with her release has come a wave of complaints about her, and I get it. So first of all, it's a new character. People are not used to playing against her. It's not like Johnny, where Johnny always, he's different. He's kind of streamlined in Strive. He's been slightly compressed. But, a lot of his moveset resembles previous games. There's like a general way, like a lot of Johnny's strengths and weaknesses are pretty similar between games, right? I guess in this game he doesn't have like the unblockable setups and all that shit from Exerd, but Elphelt is a different animal, where she is a almost completely like her whole moveset is different. She does a lot of similar-ish things, but in a different way. So Elphelt straight up is a scrub killer character. That's what I call it. She's a scrub killer. And I don't think that's a bad thing. In fact, I think that that's a very good thing. I think every competitive game needs some amount of scrub killers in it. Things that, when I say, what I mean by that is a scrub killer to me is a character or a strategy or an item or a whatever that is really good at exploiting a very specific weakness of newer players to the game. So Elphelt has this it's mostly localized around her Rekka right now. That's the scrub killy aspect of her. There is a legitimately fucked up nasty shit with her, which is the grenade, and grenade mix-ups are actually crazy and very fun to do. But like that's the real dirt with Elphelt is the grenade mix-ups, and you can get a lot off of grenade mix. Her Rekka is very different. So what I've realized is that Elphelt's Rekka, it's actually not that dangerous. Like, if she lands it, if she successfully mixes you up or combos into it, she doesn't really get that much off of it, especially if she's not either already got like a juggle going, so she can kind of like, she can do some stuff where she like combos into like close slash off of it and stuff like that to get some more extensions, or obviously she can Roman cancel to use it as like a starter for anything. Like, obviously, you can say that of every single character in the game, because that's how that mechanic works. It's more so that, like, if you get hit with that, you usually get, she'll usually probably end in, like, shotgun ender, and that, like, puts you a decent length away from her, at least mid-screen. In the corner, she's a little closer, naturally. But it doesn't do that much damage. She can't combo off of it just on its own. Like if she just mixes you up in a block string, and what's she gonna get? Like 2 hits She's going to hit you with like the overhead or the low and then shotgun ender or something like that. And she has to kind of run back in, and you gotta, you know, play the wake up game again. And it's really not a big deal to get hit by it. The problem, it becomes a lot more dangerous in the corner because there's not nearly as much pushback. But yeah, it's like, it's not that dangerous of a move. Like, it's good. It's good in its own sense, but it's not that dangerous. The reason it's a scrub killer is because it exploits players who don't understand how to break down how pressure generally works and offense generally works in Strive. So what I mean by that is that the things that Elphelt, specifically Hereka, is good at are things that other characters in the game are good at in a broader sense, but with Elphelt, it's very localized to Hereka, right? That move and that sequence where she can go high or low and all that, that is like a microcosm of how offense works in Strive. Strive is not a very mix-up oriented game because that's for a couple of reasons. I would say the main one is the universal Gatling system. So in previous games, characters had character specific. There were universal Gatlings, ways that patterns of how one normal strings into another. But characters also had a lot of unique specific ones that they could use to mix up their timing or mix up going high or low. A lot of characters have built-in overheads into their kit, stuff like that, command grabs, things like that. I got my head working. Sorry, I'm still in like boot up mode. Strive is very different because when they did away with character-specific Gatlings, and it's all universal. So when someone's pressuring you in Strive, when someone's got you in a block string, you know what this block string's gonna be. Like, you know every move that's gonna be coming out in the sequence because it's the system. It's basically how it works with a very little variation. The challenge, the way that it works, is that you can, when people say stagger pressure in Strive, it's about the way that you mix up the timing, because a lot of pressure in Strive can just keep going. It can just keep going. Even strike throw characters can go for a really long time. But there are openings, there are these gaps in the pressure that you can escape or you can interrupt. And being able to capitalize on that is how you escape and start turning a situation around. Now, on the attacker's end, they can combat this by changing the timing of their attacks, delaying things, doing things faster, frame trapping and stuff like that, because there's such a wide cancel window for where things can come out, when things can come out. And so it's a game, I've heard it described, it's less a game of what they're going to do and more when they're going to do it, which a lot of people can find very frustrating. I've been frustrated with that in the past because sometimes they can feel almost arbitrary. Like the frame data, it's not an easy game to crack just based off of frame data, for instance, because I remember trying to lab against Kai's Fudra arc, his overhead, well, it's not an overhead, but it's like his flip kick. And the frame data on that is so variable depending on whether you're standing or crouching because of how many active frames it has and how deep it can hit. It is like legitimately like, okay, you kind of have to guess. You kind of have to guess if you want to interrupt it, or he's just going to be able to reset his pressure again. And Elphelt's Rekka is a very localized version of that. And you might say, oh, well, but isn't it about going high and low and all that? She's more of like a high-low mix character instead of a timing frame trap kind of character. Sort of, yeah. There is that element where you can mix up high and low, and definitely you can get totally whacked by that. But it's technically not a true 50-50. And the reason for that is a little deceptive. Again, if you look at the frame data, the high and the low, it says they come out on the same frame, or they're active on the same frame, but in reality, the initial hitbox of the overhead is so high that if you're crouching, it'll just whiff on you, meaning that they actually hit on like the same frame. Or sorry, the overhead actually hits a little bit later than the low option, meaning that you can actually like practice fuzzy guarding it. So you can block for however many frames, and then you can crouch block for however many frames, and then stand block after that period of time. And it's you know, well, I'll get into that in a second. And you can beat it with just timing. You can guarantee that you could, well, get close to guaranteeing that you can block it no matter which one she does. Of course, she can delay it, but that's hey, see where we are? She can delay it. She can delay which one she does, or when she does it, meaning that... Uh-oh, stagger pressure. We're back to the same idea. Where Elphelt's mix gets really dangerous because it's broken up into these three. The way the Rekka works is that you can only do 3 things. You can do, it's like 3 segments, 3 pieces. The first one is always like the starter, which just hits mid. Then you can go overhead or low. And then you can go into the third segment, which can either be another overhead / low or the shotgun ender. However, at any point after the first or second segment, she can go back into the starter and basically start the chain up again. That doesn't combo, it's not a true block string, and every single character in the game, if she tries to reset it, the Rekka, every single character in the game can just jab it out or like 6p it or something. Everyone can interrupt it. So if you know it's coming, or if you read it, or just, you know, guess, you can just completely blow her up for trying to reset her pressure. It doesn't because it doesn't combo. However, there is also a gap going from the starter to the overhead. But that gap is not interruptible. It's a frame trap gap. Frame trap gap. Meaning that if the actual, like, the mix is in the timing, because she basically has to end with shotgun ender if she wants to stay safe. She can go for like 2 mixes in a row, but it's extremely unsafe because she's like -13 or something, and it's point blank, so she's gonna get fucked up no matter what. If you can understand how the difference between doing the reset and doing the overhead, and how she structures her pressure, that's like the real, like, that's the most complicated that it gets. You can actually form a game plan. There is still a guessing game that's involved in the mix. But it's, instead of being between an overhead and a low, is the move going to come out at a timing that I can interrupt, or a timing that I can't interrupt, and I'm going to get counter hit and blown the fuck up for trying to do. It's not really, like, the eventual mind game is not high-low, it's timing based. And with Elphelt, that's separated between either doing the starter again or the overhead, as opposed to other characters who it's just spread across. They're like, okay, Giovanna runs up and does close slash. Is she gonna hit it again? Is she gonna hit far? Is she gonna, like, do it fast enough that she hits far slash? Is she gonna do heavy slash? Is she gonna do 2S? There's like all of these different options that she has that it's a little dizzying if you throw that problem at a new player. With Elphelt, it's these 2 moves, and it's locked into this specific sequence. She's gonna run up, and there's gonna be 2 things that she can do. And if you can understand that, and you can form a game plan around that, that inherently teaches you the skills to start approaching the way that most other characters in the game structure their offense. And that's why I say that Scrubkillers are good for a game. The other example I would think of is Teemo from League of Legends, another game that I have too much experience in. Teemo is a character who is like infamously annoying to play against, that everyone fucking hates. But at the same time, he's been played, I think, a total of 1 time ever in competitive play. And that 1 time was like a joke because it was a tournament where I think like they were already... The game itself was basically just a formality, and they were already out of the tournament no matter what. So they just said fuck it, and one guy picked Teemo as a joke. Teemo's entire kit is based around literally the one thing he has, which is the blind that turns off your auto attacks. It makes them all miss for a few seconds, or depending on the level. That is Teemo's main thing. He counters, supposedly, melee champions. So why isn't he picked in competitive play? Well, it's because he offers basically nothing besides this one gimmick. His kit is largely localized around shutting enemies down if they don't know what else to do against it. And what you do against it is you just bait it out and you just wait. Some characters have spell shields that they can absorb it and just nullify it. You can wait until he tries to kill a minion with it and gets greedy. You know, you can walk up, pretend to engage, bait him to use the blind on you, and now it's on cooldown, and you can just run up and actually hit him. Or force him to back off, because if you actually want start fighting for space in lane, because now that it's on cooldown, he really has no way to contest you. So if you want to like assert yourself, he can't do anything against you. That's like it's actually, he's not a good character. Like he has an extremely linear design, but it's one that exploits a weakness of newer players. They don't know how to play around a character's strengths. They don't know how to bait things out from their opponent. They don't understand how you jostle for control over the lane. They don't understand, getting something on a cooldown and taking that option off of the table. All they see is every time I try to fight Teemo, he blinds me, and then they just stand there trying to hit him uselessly, and then they take like half their health in poison damage, in very slow poison damage over time. If you can learn how to fight Teemo, you can then apply that skill to like every other character in every other matchup in the game. I baited this out. Now they're weak, and they're in a bad position if I engage. So they're going to be scared, and they're going to be forced to play more passively. I can fight for space, that kind of a thing. Those characters, even if they're not good, they're very valuable to the experience, to the overall, like, they are characters who teach you how to play the game. And also, by that same token, if you are a Teemo player, understanding the weaknesses of your own character can also in some way give you that lesson. Maybe less so than actually having to formulate a plan against it, but yeah, that's why I think characters like Elphelt are very, like, that particular aspect of them is very valuable. So that's cool.